Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics. Busy week in the primary season. We are joined by a lady in the state senate and at the state on the statewide ticket, Mary Elizabeth Coleman. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, Secretary of State race, how's the race going?
It's going fantastic. We're crossing the state, meeting with voters, and really our message that if you're concerned about illegal immigrants voting in the state of Missouri, then I'm your candidate. And really that's why I got in the race, is because we have got to make sure that there is no illegals who are allowed to vote in the state of Missouri, and no other candidates are talking about it.
As you make the state, is that what folks are asking you? When you talk about Secretary of State's race,
yeah,
is that what folks talk about?
Election integrity, 100% all day, every day. To the extent people know about the office, I think that there's a lot of races.
I think you're in Condoleezza Rice's job or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. People sometimes get confused about the federal versus the state race. They do sometimes wonder if we're dealing with federal policy, but once I remind them that the Secretary of State is the primary election official of the state of Missouri, and our job is really to make sure that people can rely on the results of the election, that they know that only people who are allowed to vote are voting, and that they're getting those results verified and back to them.
Are illegals voting now?
Well, you can't say that they aren't. We know that there are 77,000 illegal immigrants in Missouri, according to Governor Parson. And when you go to register to vote, all you do is you can go to the DMV, the library, or even fill out a form online, and you scroll down and it says, put in your driver's license number. But if you don't have it, you don't have to. Put your last four of your social security number. If you don't have that, you don't have to put that in. And then there's a little thing at the bottom that says, if you are not legal to vote in the state of Missouri and you register to vote anyways, there's a penalty for doing so, that it's against the law to do so. But Scott, if you have come across the border illegally, if you have immigrated without bothering to follow any of our nation's laws, why would it bother you at all to break this one too? And so no one can tell us for certain that there are no illegals voting in the state of Missouri. And we ought to be able to have a way to audit our rolls, our voter rolls, and have a way to be able to make sure that when you're registering to vote, you're actually legal to do so.
So when you're Secretary of State, how are you going to be able to tell folks that, hey, there was a problem, this could happen, I solved it?
Yeah, there's a couple ways that we can fix that. The first is we've got to audit our voter rolls. And the way that we do that is just making sure that those who are on the election rolls right now are there. Cherie Tolson Rice has been screaming about this for the entire time that I've known about it. She's very angry, rightly so, about dead people voting in Boone County and Clay County and St. Louis County and Jackson County, and worried about election integrity. We have got to make sure we're cleaning up those voter rolls, and not only our only legal people, but also alive people who are voting on the rolls. So that's the first thing that I do. The second thing that I would do is
then you over intelligent people, right?
Well, listen, I think that most Missouri voters are intelligent people. Cherie has a strong opinion about what types of candidates that people should elect, and I tend to agree with.
So how's the campaign going? You're getting around the state. Money seems like it's coming in pretty well.
Yeah, it is. It's going really well. Unfortunately, the only metric that really matters, people put out all these other efforting metrics and talk about what they're doing. What matters is, do you have the resources to get your message out? And is that message connecting with voters? And I think we're having both. So working on putting out 4x8s across the state. So if any of your listeners are seeing a spot that they've got, if they're on a letter highway or maybe highway 44 or 55 frontage, highway 63, go to MaryElizabethColeman.com. You can sign up for a 4x8, and we'll make sure that Seth or I get one to you.
Like a site selector right now, looking for those good commercial spots with high traffic numbers.
Right. Anybody who's got a good busy intersection, let me know. We'll put a sign up for you.
When I think of you, I think of the person who has led the fight against abortion in this state.
Yeah.
It does appear as though there'll be a IP initiative on the ballot that would make very broadly access to abortion available to Missourians. Give me the case against voting for that.
Yeah, so first of all, we don't know that it's going to be on the ballot. It's really important. Right now, the Secretary of State has sent out all of those signatures. They collected a tremendous number of signatures to all of the county clerks across the state. They're going to verify those signatures, match the signatures when you register to vote. And they have to get not just enough signatures, but enough signatures in 6 of the 8 congressional districts across the state. And so we've got to make sure that that's not just Jackson County and St. Louis County, St. Louis City, who's turned in those. They're coming out of, all of the congressional districts. So, or at least 6 of the 8. But assuming
really look at that, though. I mean, if you have someone that registered to vote when they were 18, and then they're voting when they're 58, I mean, do they really verify a signature?
Yep.
I've always wondered that. Is that real?
Yeah, that's real. And actually, there's a lot of case law on it because, as you can imagine, people spend a tremendous amount of money trying to influence our founding documents here in the state of Missouri. Lots of people are spending money. It's very easy to do so. And so, yeah, that's a real thing. So, taking your assumption, if it does actually end up on the ballot, what I would say is really important for people to understand is that it's not a return to Roe. I think it's going to be marketed as, if you're upset that Roe v. Wade was overturned, if you think our abortion laws are more extreme than you want, then it's moving back to the Roe regime. And it's really important that people understand that's not the case. Now, I understand I have maybe extreme views on abortion. I think every life is sacred no matter what. Not everybody feels that way. They may think that there should be some type of exceptions, but the way that this language is written and submitted is to allow taxpayer-funded abortion on demand up until the day of birth for the child for any reason. And even worse, it gets rid of the health protections and medical malpractice lawsuits if the woman is harmed in that procedure. So if your daughter, if your wife, if you are harmed in an abortion, you can't even recover damages from the physician the way that it's written. So I would just encourage everyone to go and read Article 5 of the language that was submitted. And interestingly, the Post-Dispatch has quotes from the pro-choice advocates admitting that this is true. It's not just, some very super conservative Mary Elizabeth Coleman saying it. It is true that this is going to erase those protections.
Well, just so nobody goes and reads Article 5 of whatever you're talking about. I do think there's folks that were probably pretty happy with where Missouri abortion law was prior to Roe v. Wade being overturned. I don't know, and you're getting around the state just as much as I do now. I think there might be something in folks' guts. I believe Missouri's a pro-life state, but I'm not sure it's quite as pro-life as the law is today. Is there room to sit down with some folks if this fails and say, okay, let's talk about this issue. Let's try to find where the folks are and get there, because it feels like, okay, this is a little tighter than what folks are looking for. Maybe the IP is a little looser on this law. Is there a place or someone you can work with to try to find the center ground in it?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I think that's going to be really difficult to do because right now in Missouri and most elections, those are determined in our primaries in August. And whether you're a liberal, woke elitist who thinks that abortion should be celebrated and shout your abortion, or whether you're somebody like me who thinks that all life is sacred, there's not room ideologically for people to be able to move on that. And so, yes, even though most people may not agree with either of those positions, the people who vote in the primaries that are electing the representatives do, and they typically elect people like me who line up with their views. And so I think it's going to be really hard to find a middle ground while this is currently the law. Because if you believe, like I do, that every life is sacred, I'm not going to allow or move forward to allow somebody to be harmed or hurt by expanding abortion access. And if you think that abortion is, wonderful and should be celebrated, you probably aren't willing to give up any ground. I mean, look at what they did to Jamie Corley. Jamie was trying to allow abortion on demand until 15 or 16 weeks. Well, that was totally unacceptable, not just to the conservative pro-life groups like me or activists like me, but also it was unacceptable to any of the people who would have funded that initiative petition. So that was probably from a polling standpoint where most people might land or call themselves, right? They're fine with abortion up to some limited weeks or in some exceptions.
If I was just looking beyond the next gate to the other field, it looks to me like this IP will be on the ballot. It likely passes. And then, frankly, I've always viewed abortion like this. The pro-life people, that was one of their top issues. Like my mama back in West Butler County won't consider voting for you if you're not pro-life. Whereas pro-choice people, it was in their top 5.
That's right.
Maybe that's, for a cycle, going to move up to their top 1 or 2 and make a decision. But after November, what I see is this probably passing. I think that's probably folks don't like what the law is now. No one's going to read Clause 5, Paragraph 4. They'll probably vote for it. And then, frankly, the pendulum will turn, the intensity will turn. It'll be the best day for Missouri right to life in a long time, and folks will vote Republican. Pro-life has a legislature, and they'll fight it out, and maybe that's what the folks want. I don't know.
Well, I do have to tell you that if this passes, no law on abortion in Missouri is going to be settled for a very long time because this is going to be in the courts for a tremendous amount of time. And the Republican supermajority, I don't have a crystal ball, but there's no way they're not going to continue to fight to protect the unborn and it's going to come up a lot in the
Well,
legislature.
speaking of courtrooms, you're an attorney.
Yep.
I felt like when they started, I felt like a lot of folks in Missouri were kind of tired of Trump's drama because it's always something, right? But then they started arresting him every 3 days for some random stuff. I guess he paid this porn star off or something like that. I just, to me, in my gut, what they did to Donald Trump, who's the least sympathetic person I could ever think of, it just struck me as wrong.
Well, I think it's really hard to understand being charged with something only once you're the party nominee. This is supposedly a decade.
What did he really convicted of? I don't even know.
Well, this is the problem, right? So he's been convicted of a felony federally that he was never convicted of in the state. And so if you listen to any of the commentary from any of Trump's lawyers, Will Scharf, for example, he'll talk about this doesn't make sense and it doesn't hold water and is really
but he's on the
difficult to
team that
understand.
lost, right?
Well, the first round, I think when
I'm
you
a little bit like Trump and the Cardinals before Marmol. I like winners. It's just something in my gut strikes me that.
Listen, a show trial propped up by a judge who is.
I heard a lot of the
running
lawyers
against-
saying these were bad facts and they were going to win. I heard Ollie Marmol say he was going to win too, and that none of them ever win. I do think at the end of the day, it does strike folks. Even if, let's say you're a Republican or you're a labor guy, something about this just doesn't strike folks right.
Listen, I think using the long arm of the law to prosecute political enemies doesn't sit right with Americans for a reason. And even if people didn't like Trump, they're not going to set for this. And when you looked at his fundraising numbers, we were talking about fundraising earlier as a metric for how well a candidate's doing. Donald Trump broke every single record that was ever in the history of a presidential, and people who were first-time donors at very high level because they don't want to see this country go down that path. And so we have a real chance in November to elect Donald Trump to save our country, to make sure that we're not going to become one of these third world.
Do you think folks really think it's to save the country?
No, I do think it matters when you have people who are willing to do anything and everything and will do the very thing that they're blaming you of doing. It really is to a point where there's not much else that can be done. And I think that electing Donald Trump is vital.
I actually think he's closer to being president today than he was for that verdict.
I think that's
I think there's something that just doesn't set right in folks' guts with this particular, the way they've done this, the way the whole thing just kind of smelled bad. And I think it makes Trump, who, let's be honest, is a highly unsympathetic figure, look almost sympathetic. I mean, I think what they did to Biden's son, I think the kid's got a drug problem, or the old guy's got a drug problem. It's not. It just seems like there's way too much FBI in the political process.
Well, certainly the FBI has shown how political they are, and the DOJ. And
who would trust those people?
When you mentioned the Biden administration, Hunter was going to get a sweetheart deal until the judge started asking questions. So yes, he was finally convicted, but only because the judge did what no one expected.
And read the thing.
And had he not actually done his job and read the pleadings and said, whoa, guys, we're not doing this, we wouldn't have had the conviction at all.
Senator Mary Elizabeth Coleman, running for Secretary of State, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back. Boot Hill debut. And Representative Donnie joins us after this.
For more than a century, the St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
America is under attack.
We need to lock the border down. As governor, I will fully support President Trump in securing our border.
Biden's open border means Chinese fentanyl is flowing into Missouri. Now they're coming for our land.
China is the enemy of our country and of the state of Missouri. As governor, I will stop China from bringing fentanyl into our state and from buying up our farmland.
Mike Kehoe will defend our borders and stop China. Paid for by the American Dream PAC.
Missouri farmers have been doing what's best for their land for generations. After all, no one knows what it takes to feed and fuel a growing global population better than they do. So why are trial lawyers threatening Missouri farmers' best defense against weeds? Our farmers don't need to be controlled. They need to be supported. Keep glyphosate in our state. Show your support at TakeControlMissouri.com. Paid for by Modern Ag Alliance in support of Missouri farmers.
Data captured by our state-of-the-art monitors helps us pinpoint the timing and location of severe weather more accurately and respond to trouble more quickly. Ameren, Missouri's investment in smart technologies like this is one way we're improving reliability and restoring power faster than ever. Responding to trouble before trouble hits. That's energy at work. Ameren, Missouri.
Welcome back to Missouri Politics Opinion Maker Panel. Time for Republican legislator Donnie Brown from Boot Hill. Good to see a fellow Boot Hill brother here with us.
That's right. Glad to be here, Scott.
Jim Kalberloh. Did I say it right?
You got it perfect.
Good, Mike. No ability to pronounce it. Jamie Berger, fellow Boot. It's like a Boot Hill homecoming.
It is. You know, both of us from the Boot Hill. It was great to be up here today.
And Dean Van Schoiack. I knew I'd screw that up. It's a long way from the Boot Hill to the Great Northwest. It is. But I'll tell you, there's a guy that's been making that round from the Boot Hill to the Great Northwest. That's Mike Keogh. How's that governor's race coming along?
He's doing great. Absolutely great. He's going to be up in Northwest Missouri twice this next week, Maysville on the 15th and Savannah on the 21st. And we're glad to have him, and he's going to get a lot of good support out of the great Northwest Missouri.
I'll tell you, Jamie, they're all traveling now. Senator Eigel, Secretary Ashcroft, they're all making time. I have a feeling that to the extent Mike Keogh is building momentum right now, let's be honest, when Mike Keogh isn't some glamorous speaker that people will say, oh, we got to go listen to that stem winder. The crowds he's drawing it because he's been there 7 times. And everybody in the county, you know, of a lot of high regard things highly of him, they're bringing folks out. I mean, the crowds he's getting, it's not because he's been there once, it's because he's been there 10 times.
Well, you know, people keep telling me he's one of us, and he is one of us. And, you know, tomorrow night he's having a fish fry at Charlie Cruz's place in Dexter. Yep. I plan to go, and I think he's going to be in Cape at Cape Chamber on noon on Thursday. Mm-hmm. So he's making his tour through southeast Missouri, and we're supporting him completely.
I'll tell you what, tell me where that race is at. You know, Central Missouri is going to be pretty good. It's going to be good, frankly. Not even the politics. It's when you have a car dealer. I know Harry Blackwell from back in the days. Sam Sism Ford's bill burned into my brain up at Farmington. It is what it is. But other parts, tell me how he's faring in your neck of the woods.
You know, it's just that, like Jamie said, he's just one of us. And if you've ever heard his story and where he come from, that resonates with people, I believe. And when you hear him talking, when he talks to you, and if he sees you the second time, he'll remember your name. He's great at it, and he just cares about every Missourian out there. So I like the way he's going.
I feel like we're a group of Keogh supporters here, but I do think there's a lot of folks that a lot of New Madrons who have a high regard for John Ashcroft and are going to be predisposed to give his kid a benefit of the doubt.
It is a popular name. You know, that's back to my parents' day and age. They were school teachers. They loved Governor Ashcroft back then. But I have to be with these guys. The Keogh signs are popping up like crazy in the Boot Hill this week. And he is just very personable, and he's been there, and he's talked to us.
I think they're up in the Kansas City media market now on television. All these anecdotal things, we can say, well, you know, I think it's pretty well regarded in the race. Common sense, Keogh does have momentum. Yeah. And all that stuff, and all the folks that we know is one thing. But there is a metric that's beyond that, and it is when you're able to be up on television, like he has been in Springfield for, 2 months almost now, you do see those needles move. And people can tell all these newfangled methods of communication are all great. But still, when you call Mr. Tipton at ABC in St. Louis and you spend money, it moves the needle, and he's the only one that can afford to do it right now.
Certainly, and as you said, the media is a great buy. Even more important, though, is what we've been talking about, being there and being one of the people and seeing the people, being the people. And he's done a great job with that. The media buys are great. He's got the money to do it, and I see his campaign getting to where it's going to peak on Election Day, just as a campaign should.
You know, Jamie, you've ran for office several times. I do think if you're Mike Keogh and you start this campaign out, I need these 10 things to happen for me to win. It feels like more of the things he needed to happen are happening than maybe some of his opponents. If you're Bill Eigel, you're needing some more money. If you're Jay Ashcroft, you're really just trying to kill time and keep your lead. It does feel like Keogh, because of the finances, has the money to make more moves in the race.
You know, Scott, I can just say endorsements. Everybody's endorsed him, and that brings a lot of people to the table, and the support is strong that way. And I think that's what's going to resonate in the election poll.
I saw you. There may have only been a couple of us boot healers at the Cattleman Steak Fry this past week. It's become just a marquee event on the election calendar. Boy, the cattlemen did a heck of a job.
They do a heck of a job. I enjoyed that. Me and my wife enjoyed it. Other than the plastic tines flying off the forks, I was ducking back and forth. But I'm going to talk to Mike Deering about that. I'm going to wear safety glasses next time I go.
It is a legitimately big event on the calendar now. It's something, if you're running for office in the state, and you're courting rural Missourians, you come to that steak fry.
Absolutely, you do. People from all over the state are there. They're there to have a good time, and they're there to hear the statewide candidates give their pitch for why we should vote for them. And I thought Kehoe was outstanding in his pitch. Many others were outstanding too, but Kehoe was the top of all.
He wore the cowboy hat, and it looked like he'd worn one before. It wasn't just for pictures.
That's right.
At that cattleman event, it's a big deal. It gets bigger all the time, and I do think it kind of whets your appetite for the state fair a little bit. I kind of get ready for the state fair. Then I go to that. It's on the state fairgrounds. It kind of wets my whistle.
Yeah, it gets you primed up, ready for that. And like you said, you can tell when people can wear a cowboy hat and when they just do. He can wear one.
You can wear one.
You can wear one. Because if I wore one, you'd know I'd.
Yeah, I would look ridiculous. It'd be silly.
But that's a good part about him of being born and raised in inner St. Louis. But he also relates to us in the country and in the rural part of Missouri.
All right, Jamie, break down your race. Running for state senate in the Boot Hill. Kind of Boot Hill all the way over the Lead Belt. They drilled that district. Kind of is a bit of a belt across southeast Missouri. Tell folks about the race.
I think it's going well. Somebody asked me the other day, Jamie, is your race going well? And I said, I think it's going real well. I said, but I think if you ask my opponents, they feel like theirs is going well too. We're putting out a lot of signs, knocking a lot of doors, raising a lot of money, making all the contacts we feel like we need to be making.
So the end of session, still probably a little sore in some folks' mind. The way it ended up, a lot of things I think are beneficial happened. A lot of things you can hang your hat on.
Right.
They were there might have been only 255 bills, but they were mostly big pieces of legislation. Give me something you like coming out of session.
I'd say the crime of this bill, the law enforcement bill that we did, I think was good.
Yeah. What do you think? Give me something good.
Infrastructure improvement.
Yep.
I'm a big infrastructure guy. I think it creates job opportunity. I think it creates jobs. I think you build it, people will come.
I think Cameron Parker came up here her first year, got 67. I think it's now going to be completed all the way in the state.
Exactly.
That matters to people.
It's going to bring people into Sykes and into Cape Dry to the Boot Hill. I just think it's such a big thing for us.
Give me something you like.
I like. There's a lot. It's hard to pick one. And Ben's Jimmy picked infrastructure because I think between 44 and 70 we did a lot there. But I want to go with Senate Bill 727 and what we did for the schools, and we did things for both ends of the spectrum on the public education, and I think it's good for the teachers to get $40,000. We've talked about that the 4 years we've been up here. We finally got it done, and I'm excited about that.
I thought it was one of the rare bills where normally you show up to the legislature, you put a jersey on, your charter school, your public school. The coalition that passed this was a coalition of a little bit of everybody. You didn't have a lot of votes to spare in the House, but I did think you could look your superintendent in the eye, your teachers in the eye, and say, hey, it's not just a giveaway to a group you don't like. Absolutely. This is a trade-off where, it's a trade-off means you bleed a little bit, right?
And in politics, that you have to give a little bit. There has to be some bartering and some giving and taking there, and it doesn't happen very much, or at least in the 4 years I've been up here. But the way both sides did work together and each side got something, I thought it was a great bill.
Give me something you like.
I agree with Jim, but also with Jamie. I'm a civil engineer by trade in Scott, so infrastructure's huge. I was glad to be a part of I-70 last year, 44 this year, and especially 67 down in our area. That's going to be huge.
What a big thing is the kickoff, the groundbreaking, whatever. They're going to start it in Columbia on I-70. Look, I-70 is a long way from my hometown, but my hometown will benefit from the increased economic activity that redoing 70. And plus, you just can't get nowhere on 70.
That's right.
I mean, the speed limit can be 70, but you can't drive 70. You might drive 55. I mean, it's just too clogged up.
Right, exactly.
Tell me about that lieutenant governor's race. You got Lincoln Huff running. Down ballot things never get enough attention. He's making the rounds. Holly Rader's running. David Wassinger, right? Got a St. Louis businessman. Interesting race.
It is. I think, to me, Lincoln Huff is a clear front runner here. He's got name recognition. He's making the rounds. We've not seen anybody but him coming up to Northwest Missouri yet. So for my part of the state, he's the front runner.
That's it, Donnie. I've not seen anybody ever raise money for this office like he has. I mean, it is a little startling the amount of support he's put together for an office that normally doesn't draw that much attention.
That's right. He's an impressive guy. If you've ever been around him, talked to him a little bit, seen the things he's done in the Senate, impressive guy. But don't count Holly Rader out yet. Holly's.
Oh, I agree 100%. At least the most talented politician in that field. If anybody can make a move, it's going to be her. Jim, it is interesting to see these down ballot races. More money's going into, more attention there. But with that Attorney General's race, it might have as much money spent on it as the governor's race.
Yeah, and I sure like Andrew Bailey, and I hadn't heard his spiel or his background until he came to Henry County and was at a Republican meeting and just came and spoke. And to hear his story and his background is just phenomenal. And he cares. He's another one that you can just tell when they talk. He cares about Missouri and doing the right thing for us.
Jamie, I mean, Henry County's a long way from Harvard. It kind of breaks down to you have the Missourians versus the Manhattan folks. Manhattan folks got a lot of money.
They got a lot of money. But, again, like I said earlier with Governor Kehoe, Andrew Bailey is one of us. He's a Missourian. He works hard. He earned where he's at. That's who I support.
One person that has actually ever really fought.
That's true.
For folks in Missouri.
That's true.
And that's an war hero.
Exactly.
With the middle left who won the week.
I'd have to give it to Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe. Those signs are popping up in southeast Missouri. Jamie and I were at Sykeston the other day where the tornado came through, and he was there. And just to see him talk to those folks that were affected was very impressive. He's a genuine article.
Won the week.
Bims, I'm from the west side of the state, and I'm a sports guy. What I could say, the Kansas City Royals. We're taking on the Yankees this week and the Dodgers this week, and we're 13 games over 500, so it's exciting to be a Royals fan.
Playing good ball, but where are you going to watch that good ball in a few years? I saw Kansas came out and fired their shot. They're going to win special session.
I don't know. Maybe we need star bonds in Missouri. I'm not sure how all that works, but they kind of have an advantage over us, and so I don't know. That's going to be an interesting conversation probably in the Missouri House in the next few years.
It just feels like the Royals and Chiefs should be in Missouri.
Oh, absolutely.
That's,
I'm not going to bring up the Cardinals since Jim brought it up.
Lord.
We'll let that go by the wayside. We'll give bragging rights for him.
The world is upside down right now.
I'll tell you, it's sad. We're a sad state of affairs. No, I think Andrew Bailey, his stump speech at the Cattleman's Steak Fry Saturday night was great. Seeing his family there was great. That's who I support completely. We're going to help him with signs in southeast Missouri.
Well, I'm going to Lincoln Huff. I think he has set himself apart from the other candidates in that race, and he's the clear front runner in my mind.
I tell you, it's nice. This week we have the kickoff of I-70. He deserves a tip of the hat. There's a lot of other good folks running that race, but I tell you, I can tell you, I do not believe that commitment's made by the state of Missouri without some sharp pencil whipping that he did last year. I'm going to say Mike Deering, the Missouri Cattlemen Association, a great association. They have built an event that is absolutely an event not only on the political calendar, it's an event on the Missouri social calendar every year. It was a great job last night, even though maybe the force can be. We will see you guys back here next week on This Week in Missouri Politics.
This Week in Missouri Politics is sponsored by the Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, Ameren, Spire, and the United Electric Cooperative.